My name is Leonardo Baccaro. I'm from Brazil, and I'm currently taking my MBA program at Schulich School of Business, and I'm going now to my last term, so the fourth term of the MBA, and I'll graduate in May 2023. My current role at Fresenius Kabi is supply chain professional. I'm currently working in the medical devices business unit. So we are responsible for overseeing the whole supply chain process. So it's not only the planning, the demand, so we do everything for the supply chain of each of the business units. So we are in 4 planners, and each of us take care of one of the business units. During the times of the pandemic, it got more relevant. We had major issues with productions, with raw material availability, containers availability. We can see that the prices of the container, more than, depending on the route, it went up to 5 times more expensive. It's hard to have flights. We rely a lot on China and Taiwan, and you can see that now China is facing some issues. So it was a tough time. But especially I would say about the raw materials. So in the pandemic, when it started the pandemic, I was working here in Brazil at an automotive coatings business unit of BASF. We had major issues. The automotive industry had major issues with the microchips. So we wouldn't have, and it's still going on, but now I think it's a little bit better. But in early 2021 was a major issue that we shut down plants. Production plants, like it didn't shut down, but it temporarily closed the production because of the issue of the microchips. So it shipped a lot and showed everyone how supply chain is important. It's a very important area to the companies to look at. And I think everyone is starting to feel a little bit more of the as I mentioned, the importance of the supply chain and not relying as a secondary, an operational field, but a strategic field as well. So supply chain, I think COVID helped to increase its relevance inside the organizations. No, I moved for study. So I was working here at BASF. So I quit my job to go for the MBA. So I decided to take this next step on my career. I was in the supply chain. I really think it's an interesting field, but I always had the dream and the goal to move to a marketing and sales role. And I wanted as well to join and to start working for the healthcare industry. So either pharma, either like the drug side or hospital management. So I always wanted to switch my career. So I decided to take the MBA because it would be an interesting approach to switch career from supply chain to marketing. Schulich has the marketing specialization, and also it has the health industry management specialization. So, and it allows you to take both. So you can design your elective courses, so you don't need to stick to one specialization only. So I'm taking all the courses that I can for the marketing and all the courses available for the health industry management program. So it was a planned shift. And after I took my first year at school, for the summer break, I joined Fresenius Kabi to work for them. When I was in the undergrad program, the bachelor, I had an exchange program to Canada, not Toronto, but was Windsor, still in Ontario, and I love the country. I love what I mentioned to you, the diversity of cultures. I made good friends there. I really like the climate, so I know when you can enjoy the winter as well. There are a lot of things to do. This is a learning experience as well. You can grow personally when you face those winters, those very harsh winters. So this is another reason why I choose to go back to Schulich. So I wanted to go back to Canada. So I didn't look at any other country. I just looked at MBAs in Canada. So I chose the top schools, and Schulich was in my priority list. I never worked in the civil engineering field. So I have a graduation in civil engineering. Actually, my background is a civil engineer. And in the last term, the last year of the program of the bachelor, we had a similar thing as we have for the MBA. We have a specialization. So we have different specializations, and one of them was transportation. So I really like the subjects that I have, the classes that I took for the transportation, and I decided to specialize in transportation. So I had a civil engineering bachelor with a transportation specialization. And after that, I started applying, instead of applying for civil engineer jobs, I started applying for logistics supply chain. And that's how I joined the Avon cosmetics company in the logistics department, the logistics and projects department. So this is when it started my career in supply chain. So I just have the civil engineering background, the bachelor, but I never worked in the field. And I really like the supply chain field. So I'm still in the supply chain. It's very interesting how you have like many similarities and many differences across countries and across industries. So it's a growing experience. To be honest, it's very interesting. I didn't have an experience in the pharmaceutical. So even though I want to work for the marketing department, and I already informed everyone that I want to work in the marketing department, and we're looking at internally. But to start working, I needed to leverage my experience in supply chain. So the first move was to enter the pharmaceutical industry, but as a supply chain planner or a supply chain professional, as we call, because here at Fresenius Kabi Canada, I do much more things that I used to do in Brazil, because in Brazil we had different departments. So we had a department to check documentation, we had one for imports, customer clearance, to have the goods receipt in the system. So here at Fresenius Kabi, I do everything, which is good because I learned a lot of things that I didn't know before. And in my experience and in my own vision, to become a manager and achieve higher positions, I think it's interesting to have this kind of knowledge. So I think it's totally valuable, my experience now at Fresenius. The major differences, I think, here it's quite complicated, because when I work here in Brazil, I work in two like huge companies. It's not that Fresenius is not huge, it's huge around the globe. Even in Brazil, it's huge, like the operations and everything, but in Canada, it's growing. So it's not that big company. So I cannot, it's hard to compare like a company that I worked that had in Brazil more than 50K employees, and in Canada, we have like 100 and something. So, but the major, I think the main similarities that I can say, like, I work in two German companies in both countries. So you can see a lot of similarities. They really focus on the development of the personnel. I think it's very interesting that you're very open to talk to your superior. They are very approachable, relational. So I can see those similarities between Brazil and Canada. And one interesting fact is that I never considered about some items you have to, just a curiosity, some items you need to ship and store them within a certain temperature range. And in Brazil, we don't have snow, we don't have the winter as severe as Canada. So this is something that I learned in Canada, because when I joined the company, okay, we have -20, this may impact the product negatively. So now I open my mind to upper level and lower level, because in Brazil it's very warm, and in Canada it goes from warm to cold. So this is something interesting, but it's not about the culture of the company, but the country itself, the temperature. So it's very nice when you have those two experiences that you can combine both internally and the external environment as well. Yeah, this is something that it's very interesting, because you learn a lot from different cultures, and you learn how people think from different cultures, how they act, how they behave, and you can learn a lot from that. So I have like good friends of mine at Schulich. Schulich has one of the campus in India. So we have a lot of Indian students there, and I have good Indian friends. So you can learn how they do, like how they act and how they behave in different situations. And this is so nice. I think this is something that the multiculturality of Toronto, it's a little bit ahead of São Paulo. We had a lot of immigrants in the past here in Brazil, but not nowadays. So it's not a country that students and workers they're focused to go. So Canada is more about that. So you can learn. So this multiculturality, diversity, it's very, very interesting to work in Canada, and opens our mind. Honestly, it opens our mind about values, culture. You learn a lot. So this is something that adds to my personal and professional life. So I think I can learn from both perspectives. This is one of the reasons that why I chose Schulich as well. Like Canada, it's a multicultural country. Toronto even more. It's you can hear like 10 different languages just walking by the university. So this is very interesting. Basically, the Latin American Business Association, we call LABA. It's just it's measured to create awareness of the Latin American region and the business opportunities in Canada. So we try to help students to establish network in Canada. And we're not a huge community, but we have a few members in our team. So basically what we do networking events. We had an event in December that we contact the Latin American professionals at Scotiabank for networking, so they could explain you what is their work at Scotiabank, what they do, what they're looking for, what would be good for a prospective student to have as quality. So we try to create these networking events to help the Latin Americans, but it's not only restricted to Latin Americans. So this is something very interesting. I have a Canadian friend that he joined the club because he was interested in the culture. So sometimes we have like formal, but sometimes informal events as well. So this is basically what we do to create an awareness and to help students to increase their network. This is something that I listened since my first lecture, is to listen more and ask the right questions. This is the major takeaway. So when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. So sometimes if you go and you're not really understanding what the problem is, you cannot go anywhere. You cannot achieve a great solution. So listen carefully, listen more to people, and ask the right questions. I changed drastically because I was working more in the operational side of the supply chain as an analyst here in Brazil. So when I joined, you're starting to get used to that, and but you need to apply. You need to try to apply, as you mentioned, in your professional life and your personal life. But I can totally tell that it helped me a lot, and I grew personally and professionally for sure. So it's not the main. I think one of the main takeaways as well of the MBA is try to apply what you learn, and not just like go to the lectures, read the book, and write the exam. So you really need to implement that in your life, but genuinely implement that in your life. So it's not just about listening to others just for the sake of listening, but it's like genuinely listening to others' problems, and try to help them. So this is something that I for sure, everyone has room for improvement, but I can see that I improved a lot within this 1.5 years that I started the program. One of the first things is be open-minded, because everyone told me since the beginning, you should be open-minded, because sometimes you come here with an idea and then you can change your idea. So in the meantime, I started taking finance classes, and I was like, wow, finance is really interesting. So maybe I'm gonna shift from marketing to finance from my original goal. And then I start taking the marketing classes. I was like, okay, marketing is my thing. Like I like to deal with numbers, but marketing is so interesting. I want to work with this. So really be open-minded, because sometimes you come here and Schulich gives you a lot of opportunities, a lot of networking events, and a lot of specializations. So be open-minded, research about them, and it's good to have a goal, but if it changes, it's not a problem, it's good for you. So be open-minded for new opportunities and new challenges. So this is something that I tell everyone because it happened with me. So it's my personal experience.